Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. I am Beth. Here is Pitu. And today we're talking about a person that we find to have some interesting underappreciated and or underwatched and or maybe underdiscussed things in their filmography, Saif Ali Khan, who is not one of the Khans usually covered by our dear friends at the Khandan podcast. So we're going to take a whack at it. Um, this is kind of a second in a series of underappreciated or underdiscussed topics that I think we'll be returning to a lot because it's a thing that we find ourselves talking about to each other a lot. And Seth is a person that I have always liked, and maybe coming to his career starting only in 2005 as I did. So not having seen the sort of OG 90s floppy haired moppetty Seth until later, I maybe have kind of a different feel for a different take on his career than Pidu does, who would have seen him all along. But I just think he's such an interesting actor, and he does so many different kinds of things. Like, you maybe associate him with a couple of certain types, but then the moment you start looking at his filmography, especially after 2000, it's really, really all over the place. And obviously he's a producer as well. I just want to talk about some of his movies that we think maybe need a little more attention, or maybe that we've even overlooked ourselves. And this might be a somewhat unorganized conversation, but the general through line is Saif Ali Khan better than maybe meets the eye. Pitu, I want you just to leap in, because you said right before I hit record, you're like, I have so many thoughts. I'm like, go.
I have so many thoughts because, like you mentioned, my first exposure to Saif was with Ole Ole from Main Khiladi Tu Anari, and I remember him from like Ye Dil Lagi and all those movies.
Yeah.
And I remember when he debuted, everybody criticized him because they were like, "This is the great Sharmila Tagore's son." He was painfully skinny. He had the long hair. He was like cross-eyed, and he hadn't done like the surgery yet to fix that. He had an extremely high-pitched, like nasally, stringy,
Mm-hmm.
whiny voice, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad he does not anymore. He like when he danced, like he was a bad dancer, but when he danced, his body just like it was like when when you go to an auto dealership and they have the thing that does that, and he danced like that. He had no physique. He was hilarious, but he was actually fun to watch because he was hilarious, and he
Mm-hmm.
did roles at that time that were just like funny and cute, and he was always the dude that you were supposed to laugh at him. Like he did Ye Dilagi, and he was pitched opposite Akshay Kumar, who was like a
Yeah.
hunk at the time, and then he was in Mekladi Tonari, where he was kind of like the Joker, with
Yeah.
Akshay Kumar being like the macho cop and everything. But it was fun, and one of my favorite songs, I think, has been picturized on Saif. It has Ravina in it, and it's called "My Adorable Darling."
Yes, I love that one.
I love that song. The chorus just goes mad, mad, mad,
Mad,
mad.
mad.
And then they're like, "My adorable darling." So that is the Seth I remember. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember when he started, like, for some reason, wakening up to his legacy of like being Sharmila's son and being like from the Tagore Khandan and everything. And I don't know what happened to him, but I still remember when Vishal Bharadwaj announced that he was doing Omkara, and Seth had a role in it. And I was like, how is that supposed to work exactly? But then he did Langra Tyagi, and he was so great. But I think his actual, like, when he started being like accepted by the masses and he became like a hero, was with those Karan Johar things like, Kal Ho Na Ho and Salam Namaste and things like that. Of course, Dil Chahta Hai as well. But see, he was still like comical. The
Yeah.
hero was always like Shah Rukh or whatever, and Seth was the dude you laughed at, but he was adorable and really
Mm-hmm.
cute and stuff. And then he did Langra Tyagi, and then I don't know what happened. And then eventually he became the suave, very like put together kind of like dude that we associate with him now. So it's definitely been a roller coaster ride as a viewer.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who has been through as many like iterations as Seth has.
Because
But
he's now 30 years in the industry too, which I don't remember anyone talking about a couple months ago when that happened, but
yeah.
it's been a long time.
But he's got such a great filmography, and I
He
think
does.
he always had like a good sense of like script and film, because if you look at the films he produces or the ones that he like actually invests in his own money, he does a good job with those.
Mhm.
And the movies that I watched in preparation for this episode, I watched Chef, which I had not even heard of. What is with Saif Ali Khan movies not getting much promotion?
I don't know. I feel that that has been true for several of his kind of slightly more offbeat films, and
Yeah,
even some of the more on-beat ones like Phantom, which I couldn't get into, but
I had
that
never even
that
heard of Phantom.
yeah, yeah. So
I
there's a
had
bunch
not
of
heard of Chef. Yeah, so it's just kind of, and then I did see Jawaani Jaaneman, which I really enjoyed. It's
Mhm.
a 2020 movie and people can see it on Amazon Prime. And even that, I just kind of like stumbled upon it, but again, that was not promoted either. So I feel like he needs to like push the promotion a little bit more. But other than that, his movies are really fun. So the movies I watched were Chef, Agent Vinod. I had not seen either of those films before. And I have seen Giovanni Janeman during the pandemic.
Hmm.
And also special mention to Being Cyrus, which is such a great
Yeah.
movie. But I don't know if I would call Being Cyrus underrated, because whoever has seen it, which is a very small
Yeah.
group of people, whoever has seen it loves it, and it's Homia Jania at his best. But it's definitely an underwatched film, so I would
Mhm.
recommend that people check out Being Cyrus as well. But so you and I both watched Chef. So
Yeah.
what did you think of it?
This is a movie that I remember coming out. I hadn't seen the American original, and I kind of thought, oh, maybe I should see that first, but then I never did. I just never watched it. Um, I am glad to have had this sort of put a time on my calendar to actually watch it. I thought it was really nice. Like I thought it
Yeah.
was a really um thoughtful look at parenthood.
Hmm.
Being a dad, I think, is what the movie's really about. It's not so much about
Hmm.
the what the artistic and creative drive of being a chef, although it is also about that. It could go into a discussion of interesting job films. But I think it's more about kind of being a dad and being a grown-up and realizing what's important to you and then acting on that. And I think that Seth is a perfect actor to do a film like that because he does have a he's unmistakably in his 40s in this movie, but there is something kind of boyish about him, I find, and I thought he brings that into, a 40 something person and then kind of reconciles them and learning and growing, as we've talked about in other roles. So I thought he was really well cast in this film, and I was trying to think if there's anyone else that I think could do it as well as he did at that time, and I would say probably not. Chef is from what, 2017, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. um I also, one of the things I have always liked about him and that I think he's really good at is these sort of mixed gray characters or characters who are duplicitous in some way. Like he's a very good on-screen liar, which comes up a lot in some of his choices, not in this one. But I think that he can tackle a more complicated character than just sort of a cardboard hero, which is maybe why he was always so fun as the kind of comic best friend or second lead or whatever in some of those movies. And I'll just toss in here something that I think about a lot, which is that a couple people have told me that when Seth debuted, he was compared to Shashi Kapoor. And yeah,
Oh, I
so
have
some
never heard
some
that.
people have your reaction, and some people, I at first when I first heard that, I was like, no. But then the more I thought about it, and the more I saw of his earlier films, I was like, I
Oh,
kind of get it, because often second, or
right.
notably second, like the
To the
films where he,
macho Amitabh or
uh-huh,
whatever.
and
Yeah.
then very pretty,
So pretty.
urbane, right?
Yes.
Wears the
Yes.
heck out of a suit and
Yes.
did in the 90s and still does to this day. Like put that man in a Western suit, you got yourself a
Hmm.
movie, which is one
Yeah.
reason Agent Vinod is so good in my opinion. But and then the sort of like enthusiastic moppety dancing. And
Yeah.
then you also get why a heroine would fall for him, or why he would just sort of like delightedly pine. He's good at sort of
Yeah.
cheerfully pining as well, I think, like in the movie that's the remake of Sabrina, that's Ye Dilagi, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Dilagi. Yeah.
Yeah.
He never
So
goes like full emo, which is great.
no, no. And so I I feel like those things are those things are pleasant to me, I guess, at least when packaged
Yeah.
in certain ways. And so I get the Shashi comparison. But then, of course, as his career continues, I think it's still a valid comparison because Shashi too is known for certain things, but actually did everything and put his
Yeah.
own money into some of those things, which Saif has also done. You get the obviously a film dynasty,
Mhm.
parallels and things like that. So I think the comparison is actually pretty solid. On their best days, which of them is a better actor? Probably Shashi, I guess, but they're both very strong at certain times. And obviously, these are different eras, so it's kind of hard to compare. But I think
It's
they
so
both,
funny. When you first said the Shashi thing, I was like, "What? No." But then when you explained the reasoning, I was kinda like,
yeah, you can
"Actually,
see
you've
it, right?
convinced me. Now I
I
can see
know,
it. Like,
I
now it
know,
makes
I
sense to
know.
me." But at first I had this knee-jerk reaction was like, "Stop it, Beth."
I know, I know. I forget who it was that I think it may have even been Amrita who said that to me, but a couple people have said
Amrita,
that,
she's a
and
brainy one.
so I don't know how wide that comparison was, but a couple people have mentioned that to me, and I totally get it because you can. Not that I think Akshay Kumar is like Amitabh Bachchan particularly,
No.
but like when you have the more macho
Yeah.
hero, and then it's not quite the hero's friend. It's a little more than it's second hero or
Yeah, it's
whatever,
like
but
second hero.
yeah, it's not quite comic sidekick, although it's like a second hero who's also filling some comedy roles. And I have to say, I love Seth in songs. I know you were kind of dissing his dancing there from the 90s. I feel like by the sort of mid 2000s, he's pretty good, especially compared to some of his peers. Or at least he's very
Yeah.
enthusiastic and seems to be having fun. Um,
Yeah.
this is what I will say. So in Chef, there's a couple of times where he dances a little bit and it's cute. It's really cute. And it's in the sort of not a major stage show kind of dancing. He's dancing around with his wife, his estranged wife or something
Right.
like that. And it's very believable. It's like I'm a person, an everyday person at home dancing for fun.
Mhm.
Um, Oh, and then so the thing I watched Chef yesterday and in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I have all evening. I'll watch Omkara to review, the legendary. I did not watch Omkara. I watched the
Okay.
opposite of Omkara. I watched Race.
Oh my god. I wanna know how your brain works. I
Because
wanna know how you decide to watch Omkara and then switch it
I
with
was
race.
browsing his movies on Einthusen, and those two are close in time, kind of close in when they released, not super close, but and it was there on the list. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Plus, it has Akshay Khanna, who I love, who is terrible in it,
Yes.
by the way, I
Right.
think. But and I really kind of intended to watch the first half or something and then go to bed. And then no, I watched the whole thing. I totally enjoyed it. And Seth's got some fun songs in there too. And
Right.
I am no dance expert, but I feel like he holds his own really well in the dance numbers.
Well,
And
especially if Akshay Khanna is in one of those
well, yeah,
dances.
he's not known for being a dancer either, but and I like those two together, maybe as Dil Chahta Hai holdover, but I think they kind of
Oh,
pair nicely.
yeah.
Anyway, so I have nothing wise to say about Omkara. All those things have also been said already. Probably we all know it's the great,
Yes.
number one Saif Ali Khan performance that seems to be widely agreed upon. But if you haven't seen Race or if you enjoyed it but haven't revisited it, I would recommend it. Like I felt it held up pretty well. There's a couple of effects that would be doing differently now. Um, the triple whammy of Katrina, Samira Reddy, and Bipasha Basu. Ooh,
Oh.
um, I actually think Bipasha does fine. Katrina, you know, Baby Cat
Yeah.
is doing what Baby Cat's gonna do. But it's a goofy, fun movie. It was totally entertaining. So it held
Right.
up pretty well. And it's definitely much better than Race 3, obviously.
Yeah. Which is one
Yeah,
that has Amisha Patel in it? Is that race too?
that's yes. Is she
Mm.
also in 3? I can't remember.
I don't even know
Because
anymore.
Samira
They
Reddy
all
does
like
leave at
they
some point.
blend together. They
They
blend
do blend
together.
together. They do.
Um,
But anyway, so Chef I think
yes.
is a really solid sort of middle brow,
Yeah.
middle of the road kind of movie. I like, it's the kind of movie that our friend Asam from Khandan will call like, why are all these movies set in villages? And it's set in New York City, among other things. It's not really set in Cochin, so it's not really a village, but it's
Yeah.
not a Delhi or Mumbai. Um,
Yeah.
and kind of life is happening at a more quiet pace. There are
Yeah.
quite a few people in it, but most of them are sort of background texture. There's really just a couple of main characters. It's about people learning to make better choices based on their own values. And I think that's kind of lovely. It is not action packed, but definitely enjoyed it. It passed my cell phone test.
Yeah, mine as well.
I thought it was very, very pleasant. And I know some people might say something as pleasant as sort of a diss. It's not, in my opinion, at all. Like, to spend time with a story that is engaging but doesn't upset me
Mhm.
is something I still welcome in 2023. And I was very glad to see it. And I thought he did a really lovely job.
I'd call it what I like to call my comfort movies.
Yeah.
So it's like a perfect movie to watch if you've just come home from work or come home from a workout or something, and you just want to settle down with a nice cup of tea and, like, watch a nice movie. It was really sweet, I thought.
Yeah.
I have always enjoyed, like a subset of Saif movies that I enjoy is where he plays a parent. Um,
Mm.
he's so good at, like, being nice to the little people. And
He's so cute.
he's so good at, and I think he's good at that because he just has this, like, childlike quality to him, which is, I think, what is so
Yeah.
endearing about him and how he separates himself from the other Khans. Because there ain't nothing childlike about Amir or Salman for that matter. So, his interactions with the boy who plays his son is just, it's so endearing and darling. And I just enjoyed that very much. I also really liked how he interacted with his daughter, played by Alaya F in Jawaani Jaaneman. So anytime
Mm.
you put, like, Saif in a situation with little kids, there's also that terrible movie he did with Rani Mukherjee. There was like some magic or something in it, but there
Toda
were kids.
pyar, toda magic.
Yeah, I mean the movie was terrible,
It's
but
not
him
great.
with the kids is again
Yeah.
like cute. Like, he's really fun with, like,
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And so I really liked him in that. I really thought that the cast was so good
Very
because
strong.
like the little characters, like the people, like the bus driver, and then
Uh-huh.
the housekeeper whose name is Aniletten, and then the cook, the lady who makes food in their actual house, and,
Hmm.
like, all of those people, the drunk guy at the bar, like, even the people who did those little roles were, oh, the guy who plays Seth's dad, I thought was so good.
So good.
He
So
was just he
good.
played it so straight, like, didn't overact or anything, and he was fantastic as well. And I've never seen this.
I'm
I
gonna look
read,
him up really fast. I can't remember who that is.
yeah, I read his name, but I don't think I know him from anything. But yeah, I really like Chef. It did make me laugh that the only dish he kept making out of his food truck or whatever was the roti za, which is like basically a roti
Yeah.
pizza. I was like, really? You can do anything more? It was also funny to see Sobhita Dhulipala in, like, a blink and miss it role. Like, when she came on screen, I was like, wait, is that Sobhita Dhulipala? And it was.
Yeah.
But she was like there and gone.
Okay, the actor who plays his dad is Padma Shri, Professor Ram Gopal Bajaj, who is an eminent theater personality, director of the National
Oh.
School of Drama, chief of the National School of Repertory Company,
Oh, good
a
lord.
very
That is like an
well-regarded director. Yeah.
okay. Well, that
Um,
is an amazing resume, but I had no idea who the
he
dude was,
does
but
have
he
a
was
few
great.
film credit. Oh, he has quite a few film credits, actually, many of which are
Huh.
not things I've even. Oh, he's in Manikarnika. Oh boy, I saw that.
Oh, I did not see that.
He's in Jolly LLB 2, which I
Not
think was,
seen.
yeah, maybe I only saw the first one. I can't remember. Um, he's in New Delhi Times, the movie that I
Uh,
still have not watched because of a lack of subtitles. He's in Mirch Masala, for which there
ah,
is a poster on the street.
yes.
That's an, and he's in Masoom. Interesting.
Oh,
Um,
wow. So he's had like a long, long, long career, but like he was spectacular in
how
Chef.
hungry were you for sort of North Indian classic dishes after seeing the Chandni Chowk scenes
So
and going to Amritsar and everything?
So I am clearly an extremely stupid person because the day that I saw Chef, I was very tired. I didn't want to make dinner. I basically decided to just graze on a few almonds or something because I wasn't like super hungry. So I made myself some tea. I just grabbed a few almonds and sat down to watch Chef. By the end of that movie, I was so hungry. I wanted parathas. I wanted chana bhatura. I wanted idiyappam. I wanted all the things. And I was like, this is so stupid. I'm grazing on almonds and watching Chef. And then, because I don't learn from my mistakes, I don't believe in that. The very next day, I made another mistake. Same thing. I had a very light dinner. I had just like a little sandwich, like a little grilled cheese sandwich, tiny, tiny one. And then I sat down and watched the first episode of the Great British Bake Off, which has just started again. And I was like, I'm eating my sad little sandwich, and I'm like, oh, they're making all these amazing vertical cakes.
Where's my
Like, I
cake?
want these things. So, yes, I'm a very stupid person. I would highly recommend that if people are going to watch Chef, the best time to watch Chef is after you've like gone to like an Indian buffet and like stuffed your face.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do what I did. Um, but yeah, I really liked him in that. Also, I squealed in delight when Milan Soman came on screen because I didn't know
Good
he was in
casting.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he's like, Biju uncle, the little boy. I was like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Some Biju uncle. Biju uncle comes on screen and I'm like, hello, Biju uncle.
Biju daddy, am I right?
So in his lungi, and he's like, hello there. Oh,
Hello.
he was
So
so hot.
suave.
I have a Milan Soman story.
Tell me.
So I have been a Milan Soman fan for like forever because he was like such a big supermodel during the 90s, right? And everyone shipped him and Madhu Sapre. And he used to live in my mom's neighborhood in Mumbai. I have never met him though. But there was a newly opened Baskin Robbins because like in the 90s and India was just expanding so much and all these global brands were coming in. So there was a newly opened Baskin Robbins. And I read a teeny tiny interview of his in the Bombay Times supplement where someone said like, what is your treat for weekends or something? And he said he likes to go to the Baskin Robbins on Sundays after a long run, and he always gets the blackberry flavor. So guess who started going to the Baskin Robbins on Sundays and only got the blackberry flavor? Ma. I think, and my mom quickly caught on to what I was up to. And then she was like, why do you go to Baskin Robbins every Sunday? You don't even like ice cream. And I was like, no reason. But she'd read that same thing. So she was like, are you under the impression that you were going to bump into Milan someone? I was like, I could. You don't know this. I'll just be like, hello there. You like blackberry ice cream too? How is this possible? So anyway, my dreams of meeting Milan someone have never come true. But it was great to lust over him in Chef. So that was nice.
Mhm.
What else? Have you seen Jawaani Jaaneman?
No, I've seen Kalakandi, which I know is not
Okay.
the same film, but the posters give off very similar vibes. And I did Kalakandi is another of those, like, I watched it, I enjoyed it while it was happening. As I recall, I've mostly forgotten it. I remember he has some, like, someone does some weird things to his hair, like,
Oh.
kind of every man unravels and has a crazy night sort of film. There's
So
another similar
is
one
it
with
like
Irfan in
is
it
it
that I
like The Hangover or something or no?
no, I
Okay.
don't, at least not that I recall, but um yeah, that to me is a really good, like, watch it on a plane kind of movie because
Okay.
it'll entertain you, it'll pass the time, and then you don't really need to remember it.
Mm.
But again, a slightly maybe unusual kind of choice to make.
Yeah.
Seth does really give off the air of I do what I want and I'm not particularly concerned about box office and things like that. Must be
Yeah.
nice to be a prince, I guess.
Yeah.
um, although I'm sure a lot of actors have more money than he does, but still, like,
Yeah.
he just gives this impression of I'm just going to make the movies I want to make and whatever. Does he doing that for artistic reasons? I have no idea. Like, as I've said, I don't really pay attention to interviews and stuff. I could believe that he does, but I could also believe that he doesn't, and he just does kind of whatever interests him
I just feel
based
like
on
he
anything.
wants
I
to
don't
have
know.
fun, which is
Yeah.
such a great reason to do stuff,
Yeah.
Like I think he just doesn't take life too seriously and likes to
Which,
have fun,
you
which
know,
is great.
it's something you can do when you have some, let's all say it,
Yes.
privilege.
Yes.
But there are many people in the film industry who have as much privilege or more than he does, who do not do as many interesting things with it.
Yeah,
So,
for
I do
sure.
give him some hats off for that. We won't talk about his views on nepotism because they're disgusting. Um,
Or eugenics. No.
right. So we'll just focus
I
on him as an
love
actor and producer.
Yeah. I love that Bebo keeps saying that Seth is so intelligent. He's so intellectual. He's so smart. Oh, he's so intelligent. I'm like, compared to you, sure. But have you heard some of his views? Like, no. I think
Well,
he's
it's
very
the
endearing and cute, but maybe he should just be quiet on
Oh, and the
certain
pictures of
things.
them lounging around the house and everything, like, you see nice books on the coffee table and stuff, but that doesn't mean anyone's read them or absorbed them or thought about them. And
Right.
we all know people can get excellent educations and still end up with deplorable views.
Yeah.
But I I I don't there's something about, again, vibe. He gives the vibe to me of someone who is smart. And I
Yes,
don't know. I mean, you can be
for
smart and I can
sure.
disagree with you for sure too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have been snookered by that in sort of his public persona or whatever, or at least pre the largest recent version of nepotism arguments person. And
Right.
now I would ignore him more wholeheartedly. But yeah, he definitely, I don't know, there's something about him that I feel like he's smart and cultured. I also feel that way about Shashi Kapoor, and I don't think it's necessarily true. And of the two of them, I would say
Yeah.
for sure Shashi is more cultured than Saif probably.
Yeah.
But there's something about how they sort of evoke that and express that,
Yeah.
regardless of what's actually true. Is there's marketing and there's marketing, and maybe that's their marketing.
So much of stuff is also just image, right? Like how many
Yeah,
times even in real life have you met someone and you had an image of them based on
yeah,
how you interacted with them, and then you get to know them better and you're like, oh good God.
right. And
So,
I'm a very bad judge of character, so don't listen
oh,
to
I am
me.
also. I mean, we're both dum-dums, Beth.
It's true. It's true. We're dum-dums.
Okay.
Listen to our podcast.
Yeah, that's a great marketing line. We should totally use
Oops.
that.
Oops.
So I would highly recommend watching Jawaani Jaaneman since you
Okay.
haven't. He's a very Peter Pan-esque character, which
Huh.
he is so good at portraying because I feel like deep down that is exactly who he is. And it's a very fun movie. So I'm not really, it's not like some thriller, so I'm not really giving away a
Right.
lot. He basically just plays this like aging playboy who lives in London. He's a Casanova. He goes out and parties all the time. He drinks a lot. He is constantly like womanizing and stuff like that. And then one fine day, he discovers that he is actually the father of a teenage girl who is Alaya. And
Yeah.
of course, his world is shook. And then his world is even more shook when she announces that she is an unwed mom. She's a pregnant teen. And so overnight, he goes from being single, aging playboy to dad to grandpa. It's hysterical. He's so funny. And like his interactions with Alaya are really good. I thought that for her first movie, she did a decent job. I wasn't expecting much out of her given that she's Pooja Bedi's daughter, but she was decent,
Mm.
I thought. Tabu plays the very sort of like new agey kind of like I don't live my life by any rules kind of airheaded yeah, it's actually a really smart casting because
Interesting.
I would never look at Tabu and go, yeah, you're who should play an airhead. But she is very like, she makes sure her chakras are always aligned and everything. She's actually really funny.
Oh, now
And
I'm very intrigued now.
it's great. Like they have great chemistry together. They play off of each other really well. But she is cast so against type. Like she's not her usual stern, stoic, mysterious person. She's hilarious in it too. It's a fun movie. And I was actually thinking that if they made a movie like this starring Leonardo DiCaprio, that could be funny. Because have you seen all those memes of Leo, like, oh, his girlfriend has now turned 26. Well, he has to
Right.
dump her because she's over
Yeah.
the hill.
Yeah.
So something like that would be funny. Now, I will say that I enjoyed Chef very much, and I also enjoyed Jawaani Jaaneman very much. But apparently, both of them are based on like other movies. Like Chef
Mm.
is an official remake
Mhm.
of the original Chef starring John Favreau, and Giovanni Janiman is a remake of some South American film which I've
Oh,
not
cool.
seen. And apparently, people said that both the originals are better than the remakes, as is often the case.
Sure.
But the amount of people who told me that they hated Chef because the original was so good, oh my God, Beth. I made the
Really?
mistake. Yeah. So anytime I'm going to watch a movie, I take a picture of the credits or whatever of the title, and I put it on my Instagram just because I want to see what people think. And I
Yeah.
posted like now watching Chef. I had like 5 or 6 messages in my inbox within minutes where people were like, I hate it. The original with John Favreau was so much better. And I was like, okay. So I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, I want to see the original now just because I heard so much about it. But I also feel like, despite my hatred of remakes, I do think that a movie like Chef could work as an Indian adaptation also because the food is so different, the culture is
Mhm.
so different. He goes from like a foreign country, so like from New York in America all the way back to India to like Cochin and Delhi and all of the things. Whereas I think in the original, he just goes back to Louisiana. So to me, that's not as different.
Miami, I think.
Oh, does he?
'Cause I
Okay.
think Cuban food is involved, if I recall.
Okay.
Now, I do not know if his ancestry is supposed to be Cuban in the movie or not, but I
Right.
think that, but then they drive across the country and do stuff, I
Okay.
think in Texas and Louisiana. And
So I mean, I will at some point watch the original just because people were like really like upset about the whole thing. And I was like, okay.
Did
Um,
everyone who complained to you, had they actually seen Chef, or were they just mad that it
yes.
existed?
No,
They'd
they had
actually seen
seen
it. Okay.
both.
Okay.
And my husband actually loves the original Chef. So he decided to watch the Saif Ali Khan Chef with me. And at the end of it, his verdict was that Saif did a good job. And the movie was attractive and like, with the locales and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He liked it, but he still said that it doesn't hold a candle to the original. So I
Interesting.
was like, okay. So it wasn't like this chef is bad. It's
Right.
just the original is much better. So
Here's one thing that happened in Chef that really threw me that I
hmm.
didn't know I had a strong feeling about, but apparently I do. And it's very trivial. So lower your expectations. There's a song, I believe, where they're doing kind of a montage flashback to Seth and his wife when they first become pregnant.
I think I forwarded it
Okay.
because it was
So they're
sappy.
like yeah, they're cooking in he's cooking in his New York apartment,
Oh
which
yeah,
is of
he's
course
making pasta.
he makes pasta in the beginning for
Yeah, and he
Shivita
was also,
to
which is why I was like, oh, he
okay,
really likes pasta.
who doesn't? Um
Yeah.
uh and there's a to show, I guess, that time has passed, he's clean shaven. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa."
Oh,
We're so used to
same,
Seth with
same.
the stubble now. And of course, like when I first saw him in Dil Chahta Hai and stuff, he's clean shaven there. But
Yeah.
something in the last, I don't know, like 10, 12, 14 years or whatever, I just associate him so much with the stubble. And I hadn't even realized
Yeah.
it. Same with Abhishek Bachchan, actually, who are
Same
pretty
with
good
Anil Kapoor.
contemporaries.
I mean, Anil Kapoor
Yeah.
without the mustache and Lamhe. Oh my God,
Yeah.
everybody had a heart attack.
Yeah. So
Um,
I actually did go, whoa, outside out loud to my living room when I was
I
watching
did not
that.
like it.
Really threw me. So I don't, and I know people complain about whatever it is he's done to his face, like whatever, it's his face.
Really?
But
Oh,
I do
I think
like him
he
with the
looks,
stubble.
huh, I think he looks really good. I didn't know people were complaining about what he did to his face. I think he's aging excellently.
Yeah,
But
whether aided or not, I don't know, but I think he's aging very well.
but to your point about like, because first of all, I don't think that's trivial at all because like I'm a very superficial person.
I mean, we do
I
pay to
have,
watch their faces. So
we do, but I recently watched this trailer for a movie that I'm probably not gonna watch because it sounds a bit hokey, but it has Vicky Kaushal in it, and it's called, I think it's called The Great Indian Family or
yeah.
something of that effect.
Mm-hmm.
He's clean shaven in that, and I'm
Oh,
so used to seeing Vicky Kaushal with like a stubble or like a full on like beard, like he's been sporting these days. I did not like him at all. I took one look at clean shaven Vicky Kaushal in that trailer, and I was like, "You are not attractive. You need to grow your facial hair,
no,
stat."
sir.
No, although was he clean shaven in Razi? Because I thought he was very hot in Razi.
I don't remember.
But the thing in Razi is that he wears a uniform, and we all know how I feel about uniforms, so
That's
that does
right.
like counterbalance it. But
That's right.
him without any facial hair, not a good look. I need him to stop with that. So yes, that's not trivial, Beth. You know who you're talking to. Um, I also enjoyed Agent Vinod,
Oh,
so
yeah,
thank
let's
you
talk
for
about that.
recommending. I
Yeah.
had fun watching it.
Good. I'm glad.
I shocked my husband by telling him that I think Agent Vinod is 100 times more fun than any James Bond movie I've ever
Ooh.
seen. He stopped walking. He just looked at me and then he resumed walking. But the thing is, I don't like spy movies.
Ah,
Like,
okay.
that is just not a genre I enjoy. Even like Pathan, I would never have seen Pathan if it weren't for Shah Rukh. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just not a genre. It's just a genre I stay away from. And I've always found the Bond movies incredibly silly.
They are.
Um,
Yep.
they're so silly. But I actually enjoyed Agent Vinod.
Mhm.
Also, I think both him and Karina looked so good. I think it's the best he's looked.
Movie star perfection, right?
He looked gorgeous in his
Yep.
suits, and he was
Yep.
just tailored. But
Yep.
also Karina was like, she
Yep.
was bomb in this movie.
Hmm.
I just found the movie very like stylish.
Hmm.
I also think it has one of the most inventive song picturizations I've ever seen. It's that Rapta song
Rapta.
where at
That
first
picturization is so good.
it's so good, but at first I was so taken. I was like, "Wait, what's happening?" And I was like, "It's like this slow, like romantic number, but then they're
Yeah.
also like turning around and
The
shooting people." And it
shootout.
was just,
Yeah.
it was very stylish. I
Hmm.
loved all the little references to other films. I mean, you can tell
Hmm.
Sriram Raghavan is a big film buff, and I enjoyed
Right.
all those like in jokes and things like that. So it was fun. Prem Chopra.
I know, isn't he good?
Prem Chopra in a kaftan like really made me laugh. Like in the first scene where he's like with the camel, and Jeet and I like we both looked at because he saw Asian Vinod with me too, and he was like, is that Prem Chopra? I was like, no. And then he was like, it
Yes,
is Prem
it
Chopra.
sure is.
And then there's a scene where he's talking with Saif, and behind him on the wall, there's like a collage of like photos. And there's a photo of like young Prem Chopra in it, like a black and white Prem Chopra.
Yeah,
That like really made me giggle as well.
yeah.
So that was enjoyable. This movie does have Ram Kapoor in it.
Yes, that's true. Not for very
Yes.
long.
Which thank goodness, because like after having seen Niyat the most recently, I am like, no, I don't want no Ram Kapoor on my screens. It was
That's
very
fair.
annoying.
That's fair.
Um, but it was the only thing about Asian Vinod I did not like was the songs, like with the exception of Rapta, which was shot very
Oh,
well.
I
I
love
felt
the
like the song
songs.
really, I felt like the songs
Yeah.
were very
I bought the CD of that
really.
film, and I will listen to Pungi over and over and over and over again on repeat to this day. It plays under the credits in the film.
Oh, is it at the very end?
Hmm.
No, I switched off
And
my
it is
laptop by
it
then.
is basically stolen from
Mm.
I want to say Moroccan, a Moroccan
Okay.
artist or something, or at least very heavily borrowed.
Yeah.
I love that one. I love Rabta. I love I mean, I think the theme song is really great. I love the opening credits with that stylized,
The
like
opening
the
set.
illustrations. Those are really cool. Like everything
Yeah.
about the movie is just really cool, I think. And
It's just
sometimes
very
that is enough.
stylish.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
stylish.
Very, but
And
that's
I
I mean,
don't
that is
like
Sriram Raghavan too,
I
though.
have seen all but one of the James Bond movies. I do enjoy them. I do tend to
Mm.
like spy thrillers, especially if they don't actually seem of high consequence. Like if it's
Mm.
actual, stories about actual things that nearly blew up the world, I'm less interested in. I like this more fictional
Yeah.
spy world. And I don't
You
know
like the
why.
lesser stakes.
Right, right. Because like I don't think I'm particularly into violent movies, but I do love spy films.
Okay.
Especially the sort of Euro spy Bond template. I'm
Yeah.
into that, with the obvious notable caveat that the Bond films are incredibly sexist. They are, I suspect, quite racist as well. I haven't watched with that in
Yeah.
mind recently. They have a lot of problems, so I know that, and I still enjoy them. Um,
Yeah.
and this kind of falls into that for me, and I just think it's, I don't know, I just think it's a great deal of fun, this movie.
It's fun. Yeah.
And the locations are great. The interiors are great. The Bebo has some amazing jewelry in it.
Yeah. And
It's
outfits.
super stylish.
Yeah, they both look like at their peak. Like they both
Yeah,
look so good together. I
yeah.
will say though that they don't have a lot of chemistry. I
I've
don't
heard
know what
people
it
say
is.
that. Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of good that this movie does not hinge on their chemistry in any
Yeah.
way. Kurban, I feel like maybe does kind of depend on their chemistry a little more, although not a ton. And that's another
Yeah.
movie that I've seen once. I liked it. I've kind of mostly forgotten it.
Forgotten it. Yeah.
Um,
Tushan, they didn't have any chemistry either. And I think it's
right.
during the shooting of Tushan that they met. It's so weird to me. Like Babel looks so good with some people. I mean, her chemistry with Shahrukh and Ahsoka is just mind-bogglingly amazing. But then I see her with Seth and it's just kind of like Thanda. Like they don't look that good together on screen, you know? I don't know what it is.
But their
I don't
attitude, like
think,
in real, when you get them in photo, when they've been papped or whatever, they both
yeah.
have this kind of like, oh, fuck off energy that I
Yeah.
that I think is well earned, right? Like these people have both
Yeah.
spent their entire life in the spotlight. It must be exhausting, like, and people are really
Yeah.
probably invasive to them. So I kind of get it.
Yeah. I have a funny anecdote to tell about one of the songs in Agent Vinod. So I had never seen this movie, but I was watching
Oh,
this like,
you don't like the Dilmira?
no, I don't mind it, but I
Okay,
mean, I
I
don't
love
like
that
the
song.
song itself. I like her
Okay,
outfit in it. Like the bubblegum
yeah,
pink is right up my alley. So she looks
yeah,
so gorgeous in it.
yeah.
Um, but I was watching like a dance reality show episodes like a while ago, and Beba was one of the celebrity guests that week, and she was giving an anecdote about Saroj Khan because I think it's Saroj Khan who has choreographed that song, the Dil
think
Mera
think so.
Muft whatever.
Muftika,
So
yeah.
she talks about how she's known Saroj Khan since she was little because she used to accompany
Yeah.
Karishma Kapoor on for her rehearsals. And Karishma, of course, is a great dancer. And then when it was time for Karina to like become a heroine or whatever and to be choreographed by Saroj Khan, and she's not a very strong dancer. And Saroj Khan was known for being like a strict disciplinarian
Mm.
and like very exacting. So she told in that episode how they'd been shooting for this song, and it was almost like 1:30 or 2 a.m and they just kept going because she just couldn't get it right, and she has to do these like hip thrusts that she's not good at doing. And Saroj Khan kept making her do take after take after take, and at one point she was all like whiny, and she said to Saroj Khan, she was like, master ji nahi ho raha hai, mushkil hai. And then Saroj Khan, I can so hear it in her voice, and she just goes, ए लड़की कमर हिला, वरना 3 बजे तक यही रहेंगे. Like, shake your hips. Otherwise, you're going to be here till 3 a.m.
That's
I was
amazing.
like laughing. I loved it. So when I saw that video, I was like, I was paying close attention to the hip thrust because I was like, that's what you were going to be there till 3 a.m. for, Bebo.
Everybody, you don't, even if you're a star kid, you still got to stay till 3 a.m.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought Agent Vinod was
Lucky.
fun, but it has like really good reviews. So again, I don't know if I would call it underrated
And
necessarily,
and
underwatched.
we were talking before we hit record. My memory is that it was very heavily criticized,
Really?
and not, yeah, not well received. Wikipedia is
Huh.
giving me a slightly different impression as I look back a little bit, but yeah, in my head it was kind of a flop. Now I don't, and I don't necessarily mean technically by box office standards a flop, but and they seem to be setting up a sequel there at the end, and they
Oh,
obviously have never made it.
yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I'm really glad you like it. If there's anyone who hasn't seen
Yeah.
it, who's on the fence, please let us convince you to give it a try, especially if you like spy films or sort of action adventure films. I would say, like, if you compare it to Pathan and Tiger and War,
Oh, it's more enjoyable than those.
it's not as actiony as those, or at least not as huge scale of violence as those, although it does have a lot of shooting and there's a lot of bodies, but it's every bit as stylish as those. And I would say it's more luxe than those, because they're in like casinos, they're in Tunis, or where are they, in Morocco?
They were in Morocco, in Tangier.
Yeah. Oh, in Tangier, and like all these beautiful places. They go to Riga. They're somewhere in
They go to they go to see
Russia.
Swan Lake, the ballet.
Yeah. So it's got this sort of Bond type of like classiness to it that I very much enjoy on the big screen.
Yeah, it wasn't as gritty, which is one of the things I enjoyed about it. I mean, yeah, there are some scenes that are like gritty, but overall, I think luxe would be the word I would use also, which is actually why I enjoyed it way more than Pathan. The Tiger movies I haven't even seen because I don't like Salman. But I did like the luxiness and the tuxedos and all of that stuff. That was definitely fun. I would definitely recommend that you watch Jawaani Jaaneman. I think you'll have a blast. And watching Tabu in that like airheaded role is really a treat. It was fun. I think they should do something together. Have they done
an
any
interesting
movies
pair,
together?
isn't it?
It's an interesting pair. And you can see that she does not take him seriously, and she can't stand him in that movie because she thinks he needs to like grow up. It's a very like charming, lighthearted movie because he's like making fun of himself. And his partner in crime, like when they go to the nightclubs partying, is Chunky Pandey.
Yeah.
Like it just figures. You're like, yeah, of course, your partner in crime is Chunky Pandey. It's a lot of fun. It's a cute movie.
I was thinking, when I was looking at his filmography yesterday, I've seen about 40 of his movies, apparently, which is more than I thought. I was trying to think if I've seen anything that I thought he was bad in. I don't think I have, actually. I've seen him in movies that I don't think are great, like some of those early 90s things. Like those are not generally I don't tend to like those no matter who's in them. But I don't think I don't think he's bad in them. I just don't think those are great movies, or they've not aged very well. I do think his like kind of squawky voice that he has when he debuts and everything, like I'm glad he's sort of put the polish on that. I don't care for that. But again, in the scale of what I find to be sort of egregiously hideous about the 90s, he's nowhere near the top of the list of what's bad about those things to me. Would I recommend those in particular to people? No, not really, except for the songs, which I do really enjoy because I like his Muppety dance energy. And I want to note here, I believe it's our friend Sani from Finland from Black in the Blog days who actually had a like young Seth appreciation thread on her blog where she posts some of these songs and talks about how fun they are. So but like, especially from Dil Chahta Hai on, like it's just, of the things I've seen, they are interesting to good choices, and you get, Omkara, you get Being Cyrus, you get A Casinati, you get,
Oh, so
to me,
good.
Agent Vinod, which is really, Agent Vinod came out in that year that was just an absolute masterpiece of so many great movies. And so sometimes it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But when I look at his filmography, like there's just Go Go Gone. I love
Yeah.
Go Go Gone. Now,
We
then he
did an
does things.
episode on it.
That's right. Then he does things like Humshakals, which obviously looks awful. I think
I
also
have
has
not
Ram
seen it.
Kapoor in it. I'm not going to watch that. Again, I suspect he's not the worst thing about that film. The worst
Right.
thing about that film is that someone wrote it and tried and made it.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I will certainly hold him responsible for choosing to be in it. That was a bad choice. But then you've
Oh,
got
I
things
love him in
like
Parineeta.
Parineeta, you've got Happy Ending, Rangoon. I think he's really good in Rangoon, and that's
I
one of the
never saw
Vishal
that.
Bhardwaj films that people don't talk about as much.
It's a Vishal
Um,
Bharadwaj movie,
yeah,
Rangoon. I
yeah,
had no idea.
yeah. Bazaar, which I have not seen. I keep meaning to
I've
watch
not.
that. It's some kind of like stockbrokery movie, I think.
Mm.
Lal Kaptan, I remember enjoying when I watched it. I couldn't tell you anything about it. Just kind of looking at Boot Police, which I've already mentioned on this podcast, is a delight. Please watch Boot Police this
I'll try.
Halloween season, Pitu. It is so funny. And Arjun Kapoor is good in it. Like things
Okay.
happen. I enjoyed Bunty or Bobbly too. Is it a patch on
I
the
did
original?
too.
No, but
He
it's
was
really
so
cute.
cute.
They're really fun in that. And Seth and Ronnie, like I like him with a lot of people. I like her with a lot of people, but Seth and Ronnie are like a very particular
I like
there's something
them.
about them together that I really enjoy. They seem to have a lot of fun together. That said, I have still not been able to make it all the way through Tara Rumpum. I don't know if I ever will, because they've got that in the mid
No.
2000s, and that I just can't get into that. But I like all
I
their other
loved
doopy movies. So
I
fun.
love the scene in Bunty or Bubbly too, where they're like in the courtyard and he has the banyan and the towel around him, and Bubbly is like putting the henna in his or like hair dye in his hair,
Yeah.
and he's like a little bit of a punch. I was like, it was so cute. And I think I'm the only person on the planet who likes that song from Bunty or Bubbly too, the Dick Chick Dick Chick.
It's great. It's so
It's
much
so funny.
fun. Like it's
Her
supposed to be tacky, you
outfit.
guys.
Yeah, and her outfit, like the flowery chiffon
So fun.
monstrosity with the headband. It was hysterical. Like,
Like I
I
think
actually love that song.
they really brought that character forward to being approximately 40 or 45 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they
Ugh,
really did a good job with that. And I don't actually remember what explanation, if any, they gave for how Abhishek had turned into Seth. I don't remember if they
I don't
addressed
think they
that,
even mentioned it. They
which
didn't
is
even
fine.
address it.
It's fine. Um, the original is one of the very great
It's
films
so
ever, in my
good.
opinion. But I really enjoyed this as a sort of, I don't know if we can call it a sequel because it's been so long. It's like a follow-up in a way.
Yeah.
Or
It
let's check in with those
almost
people again.
Yeah, I just wish it had been better because it deserved,
I
like,
think it deserved
because Rani
more.
is so good and Saif is
Hmm.
so good,
Hmm.
but they just kind of like lost the plot a little. And I was not impressed by the younger people in it. It was, I think, Siddhant Chaturvedi and
Yep.
Sharvari. Could not
Yeah.
care less about
It
either.
didn't matter. I wasn't there for them.
Yeah, no.
Whatever.
But they did take away a lot of the scenes, like
Yeah.
they kept putting attention on the young people. And I was like, no, I just
No
want to
one's
see
here for
Rani
them.
Mukherjee. Like, just focus on Rani Mukherjee. I want to
Yeah.
see her having like a little tantrum in Dubai with like a little pocket dog or whatever. And they kept turning the camera, and then I was like, no one cares. Stop it. But yeah, he was cute. But Saif in Parineeta is like the hottest that he has ever looked. Like him in that batik kurta, the silk batik
Oh,
kurta,
yeah.
and like the neutral colors, and him and Vidya Balan in like Piyu Bole, and then in the train and with Kastamaza. Now I want to watch Parineeta again. He was so handsome in that
Yeah.
movie, and she was beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Seth hasn't done a lot of romances? I feel like he doesn't do a lot of
I
romances.
think again, since the early 2000s, I feel like he's backed away from them a little bit. Now, obviously, some of those Yash Raj films like Salam Namaste
Yeah,
it is kind of a romantic comedy.
but
It
it had
is
like
sort
a
of some other
strong
things, but
comic element to
yeah,
it. I mean, like a romantic
yeah. Oh, like a
drama,
full romantic drama. Yeah,
like
I don't
Parineeta.
think he doesn't do that particularly often, does
Yeah,
he?
but
So
I
he
feel like
needs
he
that sort
should.
of, oh, okay. But I think that he seems to have chosen things that either have some edge to them or some grit or
Yeah,
something, or they have a little bit of a lightness through a comedy
yeah.
element. Is there anything that, I mean, we talk a lot, we end these episodes a lot by saying like, what's something we wish people would do that they haven't done yet, or that we wish they would return to that they haven't done for a while. And I feel like his filmography is so diverse that there's nothing particularly that's coming to mind for me that I wish he would do. I hope he gets another really good streaming show, because Sacred Games, that first season of Sacred Games is amazing. And then I don't know what
Yes.
happened in season 2, but I could not
So
even
good.
finish it. And that's what I heard
Yeah.
from many people. Something happened. Maybe I'll go back and watch it someday, although I'll be so confused because I did read
Right.
the book a long time
Right.
before the show came out. And then, yeah. Anyway, obviously, I think most people didn't see that performance coming from him either. And it was
Yeah.
very, very strong. So I would love to see him get another great streaming show, just so that there's more episodes of it for me to watch.
Yeah. I feel like he has done so much diverse stuff and he's so versatile, but in
Mhm.
a weird way, he's weird away so much from like what a hero does.
Yeah.
And I almost want him to like try a little bit of that, especially now that he doesn't have the Muppet hair and the squeaky voice.
Right.
And he's actually, like now, if he
He's
did
a
like a
grown up.
mature,
Yeah.
yeah, like if he did a mature love story or like a mature romance,
Mhm.
maybe with Bebo, well, they don't have a lot of chemistry, but with someone else, like with Tabu or someone, I don't know,
Mhm.
or with Vidya Balan, because they were so great in
Oh, that would be
Parineeta.
nice to see them
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
something like that would be good. But I feel like he veered off so much into doing all these other things. And it's weird. Like, I don't know if it's really possible to be like a huge Hindi film hero or a big superstar and not have those romantic films
Yeah.
in your kitty. You kind of have to have those. And that's exactly what Aditya Chopra had told Shah Rukh. It's like, if you want to become
Right.
a big star, you're going to have to do romantic films.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like maybe Seth should attempt that because he's attempted everything else. He's
Do you
part
think
of zombies and Go Go
right?
Gone.
So it's not too
So
late, in your opinion, to do some?
no, I am so tired of like teeny bopper
Well,
romances.
right. Our plea for grown-ups in romances, yeah, continues
And
unabated.
I have no problem with people playing their age. Please do
Right.
play your age.
Right.
Like I think especially with like people going so crazy for like Daddy SRK from Jawan, like the
Yeah.
gray-haired one. Like I
Yeah.
have no problem with like you doing like how interesting would be to do a film where the hero is 60 years old, which hello, Shah Rukh is
Right.
almost 60, and maybe he's like retired. Maybe it's been a month since he's retired and now he has no idea what to do with himself, and maybe he has a little bit of a crisis,
Yeah.
or he thought he was going to enjoy retired life and now his wife has divorced him. Like a lot of divorces happen at that age, and his kids are out of the home and he's trying to find himself. Like I have no problem whatsoever with 60-year-olds or 50-year-olds playing 60-year-olds and 50-year-olds. You do not have to keep playing a 30-year-old. We don't
Right.
buy you as a 30-year-old anyway.
Right.
So if Seth wants to do like a mature romance or something, I think that would be great. I think he should do more drama. I think he should also, yes, he's very urbane and sophisticated and all of that, but I would love to see him do another film like not like Omkara, but where he plays like this, like a villager or something.
So
That would be great.
he's gonna be the villain in an upcoming NTR Junior Telugu film.
Oh,
His daughter is also in it. Her I don't care about. I have to say I'm
his
unimpressed with
daughter,
her so
Sarah Ali
far.
Khan.
Yeah.
Oh God, no,
Um, but
please.
I can see him as an antagonist in that it looks like a sort of in the mold of Bahubali, perhaps. I do not know. I did not read
Okay.
anything. I could be totally wrong. But
I'll probably
so
skip
that's
it.
coming. And obviously Adi Parush got slammed left, right, and center. I tried to watch the first 5 minutes with a friend
You
who's
did.
actually,
You are very
well, I was
courageous.
visiting a friend who's a professor on campus of Indian cinema. She is Bengali herself. We're like, okay, let's try it. We have each other, right? So like we'll power, and we got about 5 minutes in and we were like, oh no, this looks awful. And then
I would
for our
not
friends, if you
try.
have not seen Sujoy's live tweet of Adi Parush, you should. I believe substances were involved of some kind or another. You should definitely watch it. I'm sure
I'm
that's more
sure
fun
they
than the
would
film
be.
itself. But the idea of Seth as the villain and something like that, um,
Is
I can
appealing.
imagine. Right? Again, I kind of like Gray, and I think he's a good villain. So
I just remembered a romantic movie of his that I really liked him and I thought he was
what?
great. And again, Love Ajkal.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
He was good with Deepika, but what
Uh-huh.
I really loved him with was the Brazilian girl who played the shy
Yeah.
Punjabi villager girl, and he
Yeah.
wore his pagdi. And I still
Yeah.
remember that scene where he said that he drinks kali chai, like he drinks black tea, which is what I drink. And he was so Saif
Yeah.
really rocks a pagdi. He looks so good with like a turban and everything. Again, he should not be clean shaven. But see, he was so adorable in all of those romantic scenes in Love Ajkal. Okay, I
Yeah,
demand
that's a good
a
one.
mature romance from Saif Ali Khan. That's what I need from him.
And I demand that our listeners please tell us any of the films that we haven't talked about of his that you think are perhaps underappreciated or that you just kind of wish more people would watch. Should I watch Phantom? Is something I would like to know because I tried it. I got about 10 minutes in. I believe it even opens in Chicago, which is usually a thing that will make me
Oh,
stick with a film because there's so few Indian films in
yeah, I
Chicago.
know. So
But
sad.
if I recall, it opens there. But we know how I feel about Katrina. But I was like, I should like this. Maybe it's kind of like Agent Vinod, but I just couldn't get into it. So maybe I'll try it again. Obviously, I'm not going to watch Hum Shakals. I'm just not, you guys. I'm not. But anything else on his filmography, I would probably give a try. So you can give us advice if there's something we haven't seen. Should I try Tara Rumpum again, knowing it's 15 years later? Now maybe I could get
No,
into
don't
it.
try it.
Did you see it?
I think I tried watching it and I switched it off because I just couldn't.
Should I
I
just watch
also,
Race 2 instead? Oh, we haven't talked about Cocktail, which I know a lot of people love, but I don't think
oh
people
yeah,
particularly love it for him. I think they love it for
no,
Deepika, which is
I like it for
totally
the
fair.
songs.
And the songs, yeah, but I think he
Yeah.
that character is like one of his kind of sweet spots, I think. So
Cocktail is a movie that I never recommend because Cocktail made me very angry. I liked Cocktail until the very end. What I did, I mean, I liked Deepika's characterization in it and everything. What I did not like was at the end, it just, and I really expected more from Homia Jania and I expected more from Saif and I expected more from everyone associated with this film. But at the end, they just kind of like drove home the point of like Deepika's character being too like Western and
right.
brazen and not gharelu enough and not deserving of love. And I was like, seriously, this is such a crock of shit. So Cocktail, I enjoyed until the very end, and then the end just made me extremely angry. And I do not approve of it for that reason. It just, what was the point of showing us this like character if at the end you're just gonna punish her for what? Like it was just nonsense. So I don't recommend Cocktail because it
Yeah.
will make you mad.
I might I'm it's a film I would like to go back to, I think,
Hmm.
because I remember kind of feeling one way about it and like to watch
Yeah.
it again. There's one more Seth thing I want to point out before we leave, which is that I can't believe I forgot to say this. Saif Ali Khan is in and features in what is probably my favorite Hindi song picturization of all time, which
Okay.
is um, Wo Ladki Hai Kahan from Dil Chahta Hai.
It is
Because
so
that song
good.
is brilliant and it's fun as a song musically. Like is it epic and brilliant? No, but is it super fun? Yes. But that picturization is everything, and I just find it better and better every single time I watch it. And that breaking of the sort of where is reality in this when the audience starts like
It's
flapping
so
their arms
good.
and clapping, like it
Yeah.
is just, and it captures everything, not everything, it captures much of what is great about filmy songs, and then it puts
Yeah.
you in the song and it puts the
So
characters in the
good.
song in a couple ways, and it's just, it's everything. That song is everything, and he is very good in it.
I love like the Madhuri and Anil Kapoor Tezab Keh Do Ki Tum part where they're
And the way
like
she
that.
like turns and does this kind of like,
Yeah.
you know,
And then I love the bit where his hair is all slicked back and he's in the white tuxedo and there's the moon
sort
and
of
everything.
30s 40s
Yeah.
50s
And
style.
it
Yeah.
reminds me always, I don't know if it's meant to, but it always reminds me of Nargis in Ghar Aaya Mera Pardesi
Mm,
from that song. Like it's just it's so stylish. We need to do an episode on Dil Chahta Hai. That movie
let's
is
do
just
it. That movie is
brilliant.
everything. Yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah.
Um, okay, very cool. I feel like we had a very in-depth discussion of
Yeah.
Steph. It was a very good one. Um,
I'd love to know what listeners, another person that maybe listeners feel is sort of underappreciated or has some really strong underappreciated things in their filmography that don't get talked about enough. Because I think this is a really fun series, and it could be about a
yeah,
person, it could be about a particular film, it could be about a director, a style, a genre, a
yeah.
composer, like a choreographer, it could be anything. So tell us something that you think is underappreciated and we'll dig into it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching Filmi Ladies. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back next week with another episode. Thank you. Bye.
Do the flap from